Hi everyone! Welcome to Real Solutions Virtual Workshop. We are excited to have you with us. I'm Mickey, the coordinators of today's workshop. We are honored to have Dr. Chi Ka Leong to share his vast experience and knowledge on today's topics. Accelerated shelf life testings of processed foods. Before we start, please allow me to highlight the objective of the workshop. First of all, this is a hands-on workshop which is specially designed for the practicing food technologies, QA and QC, and also R&D personnel to, first one, understands the food deterioration mechanisms. Second, conducts the experimental shelf life evaluation. Third, apply the ASLT to estimate the shelf life of processed foods. Last but not the least, focus on the simpler accelerated shelf life testing methods and enables the manufacturers to respond rapidly to the commercial and regulatory demands on their product shelf life dating. In short, you'll be guided step by step from the scratch until your food product shelf life is determined. Next, let us have an overview on the ASLT workshop. We will start with the introductions to shelf life of processed foods. You will get a brief ideas on the factors that affect the shelf life datings and the different shelf life testing strategy. After that, we will glance through the basic steps in the experimental shelf life determinations. After knowing the whole process of ASLT, we will investigate the food characterizations and understand the cause of food spoilage in Module 3. By knowing the key factors of food spoilage, we will talk about the indicators of food products shelf life and their evaluation. Then, in Module 5 and 6, you will learn the ASLT techniques and how to design the ASLT experiment. Last but not the least, you will know how to predict the shelf life of food products through the reactions kinetics, shelf life plots, and QA plots as well. Here, welcome our trainer today, Dr. Chi Ka Leong. Dr. Chi is a food scientist who always walk his talk, feed the world with safe and healthy food from biological substances, which is also a famous quote from Professor Finima Owen. During his graduate study, he had joined Unipack for 20 years, a food consultancy company under the big umbrella of National University of Malaysia. He worked with a team of experienced consultants and professors. He had involved in the setup of Malacca Halal Hub, developments of new food products and commercialization, upgradings of food system, and also extensions of food shelf life and implementations of GMP and HACCP. Besides that, he had consulted more than 50 food SMEs in Malaysia. All of these led to his current consultancy journey. Here, to discuss accelerated shelf life testings of processed foods, and please welcome Dr. Chi Ka Leong.
Good day to all of you. Welcome to the ASLT workshop. Today we're going to have a look on Module 1, the introductions of shelf life of processed foods. Today's world, there is a famous healthy eating rule. What's that? The longer the shelf life of food, the shorter yours. What is the meaning? Most of the consumers knowing that the manufacturers tend to add in more preservative to preserve food. Is it the real definitions of food shelf life? What is the real definitions about shelf life of food? Let's move on. To answer the curiosities and the questions from just now, we are having our main learning objectives for this module 1. We need to know that safety is the prime consideration of food shelf life. Then it's followed by quality and label declarations. And this is very important. This is very important. Then we need to realize that management actually plays a key role in the date marking of the food products. And then those like us who involve in food manufacturing, we need to know the basic approaches to the shelf life determinations. Then we are no need to worry how long the shelf life, since we know that the shelf life is making by the responsible food management according to the food laws and regulations. And the food within the shelf life is safe, it's quality, and it fulfills the declarations of the labeling. Now let's move on to the first part of this module, general aspects of shelf life. In every module, we're going to start with our learning outcomes. So for this first part, we're going to have a look into the food shelf life definitions. Then we're going to consider the 3 main considerations of shelf life, factors that affecting shelf life, and the last one, the reasons we carry out shelf life testing. So everyone, what is shelf life? In general definitions, it is the finite length of time under defined conditions of storage from production to the point of consumer unacceptability in the perspective of safety and sensory. So there is a very important term here, is until to the point of consumer unacceptability. We must remember this point. We must remember this point. Then let's continue. How about the definitions from IFST UK? Let's have a look. The time during which the food products will remain safe. The first one. First consideration must be safe. Second, be certain to retain desired sensory, chemical, physical, and microbiological characteristics. You see, it's on the qualities properties. And the last one, to comply with any label declarations of nutritional data when stored under recommended conditions. So this one is not really taking the consumer acceptability into considerations. It's more on the fulfilling or comply to the food laws and regulations. Then let's continue to have a look. Now let's have a look on the Food and Agriculture Organizations of United Nations. What is shelf life? The period during which the product maintains is microbiological safety, regulatory compliances, and sensory qualities at a specific storage condition. Obviously, it's almost the same, but personally, I prefer IFST definitions, which is more all-rounded. But do remember, shelf life is a vague concept. Judging when a product becomes unacceptable to the consumer is more often a subjective decision. Why we talk in this way? Just because the consumer acceptability is very, very important. Let's have a look on one of the cases that happens recently, which was reported by Global Times and published on 10th of April 2022. I think most of us know about these issues, the Bulldog hot chicken flavor ramen. What is that? There is a double standard in the differing sell-by dates. In Korean market, they offer 6 months. In China mainland, they offer 12 months. Then the Samyang Food President Kim Jong-soo has said that, while during meeting with the Chinese ambassador to South Korea, Shin Hai-ming, they exclaimed that the shelf life of the instant noodles exported to China, Japan, US, Europe, Southeast Asia and other countries is 12 months compared with 6 months in South Korea. And then they give a reason. They said the export products need to go through long distance transportations, quarantine requirements, custom clearance and other processes which require a long circulation time. So the instant noodles are made in South Korea need to extend the expiration date for the export markets. In the same times, Kim also explained that to ensure the shelf life, the Samyang Corporations adds antioxidant ingredients in the exported instant noodles in accordance with the food safety standards for the importing countries. He intensified that there is no problem in the quality and safety of the products. According to CCTV, the company added antioxidant ingredients for the export products during the production process to extend product shelf life, while the domestic products without them, as the products in South Korea circulate faster. So in these issues, obviously the product is safe and the quality is fulfilled the requirement from the food laws and regulations by respective countries. But it is against the acceptability of the consumer, where the consumer feel that why you need to have double standard? Is it the Koreans have a higher status than Chinese in China mainland? And it's become a real issue, and we need to take into considerations when we put down our shelf life dating in our food products. Let's continue. So what limits the shelf life of foods? From the definitions of shelf life, I think most of us have known about that. There are 3 main considerations. So the first one, can't run away. Very important. Safety. Very important in terms of chemicals and physicals. And later we're going to look into it. Then the second one, for sure, is the quality. It's the characteristics of food and the consumer acceptability. The last one, the label declarations. Do remember, the false, misleading or deceptive labels will drag the companies into the court case in different countries with the respective food laws and regulations. So first of all, how are food safety and shelf life related? Remember, by law, all food products must be safe. Remember, presence of pathogens is not always signaled by food spoilage. And this is the very dangerous conditions. This is very dangerous because consumers may consume the food products without notice the food product is contaminated by the food pathogens. And then we need to be very familiar with the food laws and countries where the processed food is marketed and sold. But normally we're going to implement GMP and HACCP as a food safety plans in our food productions. Then, how are food quality and shelf life related? In the left top corner, we have a fresh bread. Then, in the right top corner, we have a stale bread with full of debris on the table. Then, I would like to ask you a question. Is it safe to consume the stale bread? The answer is yes. It's still safe. But will you buy it? For sure, the answer is no. Why? Why I need to buy a bread with the same price, then the quality is lower than the fresh one? Isn't it? Then, the third one. How are label declarations and shelf life related? So this is a fruit juice. It's an orange juice. Then they claim that there are 3 times vitamin C. You see, 276 milligrams per serving is about 310% of the daily value. Then they added zinc too. So if the product does not contain this amount of vitamin C as you have declared on your nutritional labelings, the consumer may bring out the case in the court that this product is not fulfills the food laws and regulations in the perspective of labeling. But actually, what is happening? Actually, what is the issue behind that? As you know that vitamin C is a type of antioxidant which may deteriorate very fast during a storage conditions where the manufacturers may not realize that the vitamin C content have dropped below the figures that have claims on the label, and this is against food laws and regulations. This is the real case which happened in Hong Kong. The nutritional contents in some baby milk formulas are overstated. So let's continue to have a look. So actually the company A, infant formula milk powders, has stated 21.9% less amount of vitamin A. Then the company B, infant formula, have stated the amount of vitamin B3 was 14% less than indicated. So actually this is against the laws. What is the explanation and the claim? The company A have claimed that the watchdog used a test adopted by the European Union which would yield a result showing less nutrients compared with its test approved by the International Organizations for Standardizations. How about company B? The company B said the sample comply with international standards set by the Codex Alimentarius Commission, a global food standard agency, but they never explained why the vitamin B3 was 14% less than the indicated one. So the Council Chief Executive, Gilly Wong Fong Han, have told the manufacturers they should ensure the accurate labeling, and this is the most important. And actually these issues have created some bad impact on the sales of this toothed infant formula powder in Hong Kong's market. There is another case which happens in UK. The condition is totally different with the previous one. This commercial infant food contains higher total daily intake of vitamin A and vitamin E. The vitamins A and E content in these commercial infant foods have exceeded the recommendations set by the UK Department of Health. Do remember, overdose of the vitamin A and vitamin E in the infant's foods may get the infants exposed to the risk of nutrients intoxications, and this related to the food safety again, and the product is not suitable to put on the rack in the market. Its shelf life is 0.
Oh no!
Do remember, when we're going to enrich, fortify some of the nutrients in our food products, we need to get it fulfill the food laws and regulations. Too less or too much will create the quality defects problems, or even food safety issues in our food products. Let us move on to the next sessions. We're going to look into what are the factors that affecting shelf life. First of all, formulations of the food. Then, the processing of the food. How the product is going to be processed. Packaging. How the food is being packaged, or is it the packaging materials is the suitable one? And the last one, the storage conditions. Let's have a look in detail. How formulations affect shelf life. This is a real case which happened in Malaysia about 20 years ago. The market leaders have come up a new type of bread, high calcium bread. Then the second one also want to follow the trend. They add in calcium carbonate to fortify the bread products. And what's happened? Oh, the bread turned into green color in one day. What is the reason behind that? Actually, they've added the wrong calcium type ingredient. The calcium carbonate have shifted the bread dough pH from pH 5.5 to nearly the neutral zone, and that is the reason why the mold and yeast can grow on the bread in only 1 day storage conditions. And that is why the formulations of a new product is very important, and then we need to test the shelf life before we launch the product. If not, the case will happen again, like this one. Secondly, how the changes of processing affect the shelf life. On our left hand side, we can see there is a fresh coconut water. It gives you a refreshing sensation when you drink it. But if you want to sell it, the shelf life of this fresh coconut water is very short. It may remain about 2 or 3 days after plucked from the coconut tree. If you're going to chill it in the chill conditions, it may extend the shelf life to about 2 weeks. So, what should we do? The manufacturers pasteurize it, or even they use UHT, ultra high heat treatment, to treat it. What for? To extend the shelf life in terms of microbiological safety. But what's happened to the pasteurized and UHT treated products? They have lost the coconut water's green and fresh note. The best things in the fresh coconut water which give you refreshing sensation. The aldehyde compounds, the heptana, nonana, which represents the character impact of the products. Do you still want to buy it if the coconut water have lost its green and fresh note? This will be a question mark in the consumer's mind. Then we need to take it into the considerations when we process some of the food. If we want to extend their shelf life, but we have neglected its quality, especially the sensory quality. Next, how the packaging affects shelf life. What is this in the picture? For the Malaysians, we knew that this is a very famous Malaysian star savory mung bean paste biscuit, and it is very popular in the northern part of Malaysia, and we call it Tau Sa Piah. This product is a big flaky pastry biscuits filled with a sweet or savory filling made from ground mung beans, and these fillings is a little bit moist when you chill it in your mouth, and it won't give you the chalky sensations, but the flaky outliers give you a different sensations with the fillings. This product is popular due to its special characteristics. Then, this is the traditional paper box packaging. Okay, you can see that all the Tau Sa Piah is exposed to the environment conditions, include temperature and the relative humidity. Then, due to the trend of convenience concept, some of the manufacturers have sealed 4 pieces or 4 units of this Tau Sa Piah into one plastic bag packaging, and something's happened. What's that? Let us continue to the next slide. Do you remember a packaged food system is a dynamic system? The heat and the mass transfers always occur. So what is the problem by putting the Tau Sa Piah into the plastic bag? Let's have a look. This is in packaged environment. So you can see this is the round shaped one is a Tau Sa Piah. Then let me choose some color. This is a Tau Sa Piah. This is a Tau Sa Piah. Remember, in the Tau Sa Piah, it's moist. So the moisture content tends to go out. Then the external moisture also tends to go into the Tau Sa Piah. And finally, it meets the equilibrium condition. But somehow, if we use plastic bag, remember, plastic bag is not permeable to water vapor. And what is happening? There's a very little amount of water vapor in the plastic packaging compared to the amount of water vapor in the Tau Sa Piah. Then what is happening? The water vapor in the Tau Sa Piah will keep on migrate to the external surface of the Tau Sa Piah, which is the flaky surface. Then, very fast, the flaky layers of the Tau Sa Piah become lumpy.
Oh no!
And then, do you think it still fulfill the requirements of quality? Do you think it still fulfill the requirements of the shelf life? That is why the wise ancestors have used the packaging materials which made of paper packaging, which is not really non-permeable to water vapor, and that is why it keeps the equilibrium in terms of water vapor, and the flaky layer can remain longer shelf life. Now the manufacturers know the problems, but they use the wrong concept. They insist to use the plastic packaging, but they make the tau sa pia into drier condition. What is that? The filling of the mung bean is no more moist. They use less water. Do you still want to buy it? If this tau sa pia we're going to give you a chalky sensation, let us think about it. The last factor is the storage conditions. So how the storage conditions affect shelf life of the food product? Obviously, the storage, distributions and retail conditions may accelerate or inhibit the food spoilage. The factors that we need to consider is the temperature, relative humidity, and light. So what should we do? We need to give a proper storage instructions. Normally we can see in the food products labeling recommends the consumer to store the products in a cool and dry place. And then some of the products will say once open, keep it refrigerated and concealed within how many days? By the date shown. And somehow for the frozen products, we need to put in to keep it frozen at negative 18 degrees Celsius. So if we don't follow the storage instructions, especially during the distributions time, we need to remember that we cannot break the cold chain for the chilled and frozen foods. And that is why we use a cold truck, which shown in the right hand side of this slide. After gone through the previous sessions, we need to ask ourselves, as a food manufacturers, why we need to test the shelf life of a product? Why? The very first answer is we need to meet the legal requirements on the shelf life dating, which include the nutritional labeling. Then, we want to sell our products to the consumers. We need to take care of the consumer acceptability. And that is why we test the shelf life of product to minimize the percentage of the consumers which are not happy with our products. We need to optimize our product distributions because we need to ensure the adequate shelf life is available for the consumer. And do remember, we don't want our products forever lasting. And this is against the product shelf life cycle in terms of marketing. Then, we test the shelf life because we want to compare the effects of processing or any formulation changes on the food product safety and quality aspects. To test the shelf life of a product, we can achieve cost savings by preventing product recalls and excessive waste. We can select the optimum packaging or storage conditions for products. We may save some packaging materials cost. We need to identify the relatively unstable raw materials which may limit the final product shelf life. We need to establish optimal storage conditions for costly or perishable raw materials. And the last one, can identify the potential spoilage, safety or degradation problems during the preliminary stages of product development. That's all for today's sharings. So thanks for your time. and see you for next sessions. Bye.